Hello, welcome back to the garden. It's the second week of January now and my first full week back in the garden, despite this terrible weather that we've been having. And I think everybody in the UK has had to deal with this rain. I have managed to get about 2 full days of work done out here and I can't wait to share with you what I've been up to. But before I get into that video, I just want to say, if you've been following along with my forest garden video, since filming the latest release, which was earlier this week, I've actually found something else up there that I wasn't expecting, and it is a bit of a problem. But what I'll do is I will finish the video off there and give you an update on what I found at the end of the video. So make sure you stay tuned and I'll catch up with you in a minute. It's Monday morning, it's about 11 AM, and over the weekend we have had some really bad weather. I do want to get out and do some gardening. It's pretty cold, but the ground is completely saturated. The grass is soaking wet. So what I've decided to do is get on with some tasks that don't really involve me with walking around too much on the grass. And that is one of those jobs that I've needed to get on with for ages. You can see behind me, this is an area of the garden that you probably haven't seen from this angle because it's an absolute mess. Over the last couple of years, I've kind of used this area as a bit of a dumping ground. So I've got my woodland up there, I've got my garden, my greenhouse, my shed down there. And behind me, I've got my compost heaps. I've also got big piles of branches and things like that, broken pallets behind me. And if you look down onto your left there, you can probably see there's like a really big pile of logs. They are waiting to be split and processed and put into the shed. My friend is actually borrowing my log splitter at the moment, and ever since I lent it to him, all I want to do is get those logs done. They've been waiting there for about 6 months, but of course, as soon as you've lent something, you want to use it straight away. But hopefully I'm going to be getting that back this week or next week at some stage, so I can work on getting those split into the shed so they can start drying. But then that means the oak trees that I've got at the top, I can start bringing them down, because I don't want to bring all of those oak rings and stuff down at the moment because I haven't really got anywhere for them to go. So what I am doing is just collecting, you know, there are old kind of plastic things around here that have just been kind of dumped. You know, there's kids' toys that they've left and bits and pieces. So what I want to do today is just work on moving some of this down to the patio, and then I can actually dispose of it at the local tip. It's on the way to the school as well, so it means I can kind of get this cleared, not worry about wrecking the ground too much, but also get it tidy. You know, it's all about finding jobs that you can do that don't cause too much damage to your garden in January. So that is certainly one that I can get on with today. One thing I really do have to be careful about with having a big garden is that I don't just slowly fill it with rubbish. Being all the way up there, it is actually quite a job to get rid of it, but it is so important that I actually keep on top of it and keep things tidy so I don't have to do this. I tell you what, you don't need a gym subscription when you've got this many steps in your garden. So as well as stuff I do need to get rid of, I've also got bits and pieces that are just lying around, like the top of my water butt and a seed tray here. So they get put away and not thrown out. So that little task took about 40 minutes. I've now got a pile of stuff that I can take up to the tip a little bit later. And when I say tip, my local council actually recycle, so it's the recycling centre really. So all the plastics go in one area, all the metal, wood, and bits and pieces all go into separate areas. You can't actually take like bin bags there and chuck them in one big place. They make you go through all of it. So although that is a lot of plastic waste, I know it will be going into the designated areas and will be recycled. Maybe a few of you are thinking, why am I getting rid of a lovely water butt? Well, someone gave me that water butt a couple of years ago. I was too polite to say no, I didn't want it, but it had been repaired, and unfortunately not long after I had it, it got filled with water and then the whole bottom broke, and it's been here ever since. So the best thing for me to do is just to get it into recycling. Now we're obviously back up in that area and it's still really messy, but pretty much most of this is now my composting area, and it is an area of the garden that I do want to get on with, but of course, I've got my woodland garden that I want to grow vegetables in. So with this garden, it is really hard because there's so many different areas and things that sometimes you can kind of not really know where to start. You do a bit on everywhere and then nothing gets done. But in this area, really quickly, I've got a pile of wood here that is all been stacked. A lot of it was shredded. This is the stuff that can't be shredded, and it's been here for about 2 years. We were going to burn it. I did try, I've got a brazier, it did, you know, some of it got burned, but to be honest, I don't have the time to sit and burn wood, and obviously that just puts fumes into the atmosphere. So with all of this wood, what I'm going to do is actually just place it all around the boundary. It can then rot down slowly, and then it will also provide homes and habitats for nature. Behind me, you can probably see there is a metal structure that used to be my chicken coop. At the moment, that is currently full of wood that I chopped last summer. It wouldn't fit in my shed, so it got put in there with a tarp over the top. That has to be taken down this year, and then the metal can go to the scrap man, and then the wood can go where my wood store is. But at the moment, that is going to be staying there. And the rest of this area, when we bought it, this area was clear, and it is quite sad that it is full of stuff. But I've got all of my compost bays here, and this will be my composting area. But I've got a compost bin there, one there, my wormeries, and another compost bin there, and I'm composting in here too. So it will all be neat and put together really nicely. Originally, I was going to be changing that chicken coop into my kind of compost area, putting a roof over it and stuff. But when we had the trees chopped down in February last year, when they felled one of the trees, it did hit on top of the chicken coop, broke it, but it's also really rusty. So the best thing for me to do is just dismantle it and get rid of it. But again, that's a task that's probably going to take me a couple of days. So I'm going to add it to the list of jobs, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. So the next job I'm going to get on with today is moving some wood chip. I have got a 1/4 of a ton bag full of wood chip here. This wood chip was actually made last summer when we were trying to get rid of all this big pile of wood. So actually we probably made around about a 1/4 of a ton bag of it, and it has started to rot down a little bit, but it's really good. At the time, I didn't have anywhere for it to go, so I didn't want to just waste it putting in with the compost or anything like that. I did want to save it for some tasks. So today what we're going to do is relay the paths in my polytunnel so we can start preparing that for the new growing season. And whatever's left over, I will put to one side, and then we can use this for mulching my beds down in the front garden and other areas of the garden, including my pots on the patio. I don't know if you can hear how wet the ground is, but I really feel so sorry for this grass every time I walk over it. I'm just ruining it. So what I'm going to do is just chuck it down, get a load of piles, and then I can spread it out once I'm done. So I've done a row and a half. I've now run out of wood chip. It's so surprising how quickly you get through it. It takes ages to grow, ages to chop down and process and minutes to put on the ground, but wood chip is amazing, isn't it? So I've got about half a row to go, but I am going to be making some more wood chip over the next couple of weeks, so I can just add to that as and when I make it. But unfortunately I haven't got any left over to use with my pots and stuff, so I definitely will hold some back on the next lot that I make, but it's just another thing that I've managed to get rid of that ton bag. I can put it away tidy, and it just helps with clearing up the garden, doesn't it? So it's about 12:30 now, and I'm pretty happy that I've managed to spend an hour and a half and get some tasks done that have needed to be done for absolutely ages. I've got some things that I need to get on with indoors now, a little bit of admin, housework and things like that. But I think around about 2 o'clock, I'm going to come back out, fill the car with the stuff to take down to the recycling centre. I think it's going to take about 2 trips. If I can get it all in one, I will then wait until about 3 o'clock when I'm picking the kids up. But if not, I'll take that straight down the tip, fill the car again, and then I can do another run on the way and get rid of it straight away. Otherwise it will just stay there for a couple more years. See you in a minute. It's now Friday today. Since I left you on Monday where I did 2 trips to the tip, I have been back up here on Wednesday, managed to get about 6 hours gardening in jointly with my friend, but the weather was so bad that we couldn't film anything because it was just torrential rain. But we managed to come up to this area in the garden where there's no grass, so we can tramp around in the mud as much as we want, and we managed to get rid of this huge pile of branches, broken pallets and other bits and pieces that were here that I spoke about earlier in the video. You can't believe how pleased I am. What we've done is just put it along the boundary fence that we've got here. So that means over time that can just rot down and I don't really need to worry about it at all. This is along the boundary where these pigs were kind of crawling underneath. There's baby pigs that were getting underneath the fence, and there was these big ones that were getting around the side of the fence. So hopefully, if they do get out again, they're not going to be able to come in, you know, because we've just put all of that there. I've still got a lot of work that needs to be done up here. My compost bins are kind of dotted around all over here. I've got my wormery as well that I need to get sorted. That will be maybe next week if it's still not very good weather. But honestly, I'm so pleased. I've got about an hour now before I need to get on with some other chores. So the first thing I'm going to do is spend a little bit of time getting some of the leaves off the grass. This is a job that I should have done in autumn, and it's definitely something I'm going to make sure I put into my calendar next year, because as much as leaving fallen leaves is so good for nature, lots of beneficial insects lay their eggs on it, or they overwinter and hibernate in the leaves. When the leaves have fallen on grass, they completely cut the light out and start rotting down on top of the grass. And where I've had the pigs breaking in, they have trashed my grass, so there's lots of mud around. So I want to make sure that when the spring comes, as much light can get to the grass as possible, so hopefully it can start recovering, and then I can clean or fill some of the potholes that the pigs have left. I'm pretty pleased that I managed to get some of those leaves raked up. I've still got so many more that I can rake up, but I think that's one of those jobs that I can do over the weekend with the children. You can start really easily. I've got about an hour now before I need to go and pick the children up from school. So before I finish for the weekend, I have another tip run to do. Down at the front of my house, we had some building work done. We had our workshop rendered about 6 months ago now, and we did a lot of moving around in the workshop. A lot of stuff got put outside that needed to go to the tip, and because we don't really use the front of the house, I've just kind of ignored it. But on Wednesday, I stacked it up ready to go to the tip, so I think I'm going to load the car now, get another tip run done. I've really enjoyed making this video actually. Getting out in the garden, being enthusiastic, wanting to show you what I've been up to has really motivated me to actually get stuff done. So fingers crossed, have another really good week next week. I can bring you along and we can actually start making some progress in this garden. Earlier in the week, I gave you a progress update of what I'd been up to in the forest garden over the last 12 months and what my plans going forward for the next growing season were. In that video, I explained that I had a spring that was coming out of the back wall here, and it was causing a little stream to kind of snake around my garden where I wanted to grow my vegetables and where I wanted my forest garden to be. So earlier this week, after I'd filmed that video, I was up here with a friend, and what we decided to do was really quickly get some of the long logs that we had, put them down, squash them into the soil, and see if we could really quickly divert that stream before I put a French drain in or before I work out what type of drainage system I'm going to do. We thought, let's quickly do that. Half an hour later, we came back and we couldn't really understand it because it had diverted all of this water and we started to get like a little stream going down. But then we also still had that stream kind of snaking round the logs. And then we realised that we don't have one spring, I have two, which is a little bit annoying because this spring here goes in a straight line down to the soakaway, but the one that I've got here is the one that's snaking round. So I've got a couple of ideas of how I'm going to deal with that, and I think we will go through that on a video next week. I have got some of the equipment that I need so I can actually start getting on with doing that as well. But I thought I would just give you a really quick update on it. If you've got any ideas though about soakaways or anything I could do, please let me know, because you gave me so much advice in the last video that I'm really pleased with and have really taken on board. So thank you very much. I'm going to leave the video here now though, so thank you so much for watching. If this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of all of my latest videos. As ever, YouTube have a couple of videos up now on the screen that they think you'll like, so please go ahead and watch those, and I'll catch up with you in the next episode. Bye!